Real estate agent robbed a showing. Not great for selling a house. Good afternoon. So I've been saying for a long time that being a real estate agent is a lot more dangerous than people really realize. Um, you're often in parts of town that you're familiar with, but you're not familiar with each neighbor on the street or anything like that. And then when you're going to unlock the door, you've got to concentrate on unlocking the door. So you have your back turned to whoever might come up from behind you, and it's not easy. It's not easy. So far this year, we've had a story about an agent that was murdered after he showed his buyer a home that the buyer had purchased online, sight unseen, and was unhappy with it. We had the story last week where an agent was attacked at an open house, where she was beat with a crescent wrench and her brain was fractured. And then we have this story today where a man has been robbed showing a house. So let's go to the article, and then let's go to the article here, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. But it says, he said, "I'll shoot you." Nashville realtor describes moments man held him at gunpoint, stole his car. So it says this was in Nashville, Tennessee. Last week, a Nashville realtor was robbed at gunpoint while preparing for a showing. It happened at a townhome complex on Porter Terrace in East Nashville. The realtor didn't want to use his name, but he says a man put a gun into his face while he was trying to open the lockbox on the unit's front door. The suspect demanded the realtor's car keys and then took off in his 2020 Toyota RAV4. Now, does it matter that it was a 2020 Toyota RAV4 versus a 1987, Ford Fiesta? Not really. Not really. But anyway, it says he was quoted, "Just the aggression in his voice in that moment made me realize I've just got to go with it. So I threw my phone at him, I threw my keys at him, and he told me to run." So then it goes in the article, it says that he filed a police report, and then he followed behind. He left his iPad in the vehicle, and they followed the location of the vehicle. They didn't see it, but then it says, so we followed behind, or so then they saw the vehicle driving on the other side of the road. So we followed behind and called the cops, and were able to get some clear footage of the guy with my vehicle. And then it turns out they captured a teenager with the Toyota, and he's been arrested. And I thought this was an interesting thing. I want justice, and I want our community to be protected, and some type of rehabilitation to be done, and some efforts to be made to help him see that there's more to life than crime. I think that's true with everybody. I don't think we need to we all look for criminal activity forever. And it says this happened out of nowhere. I think they were watching and waiting for a vulnerable moment to take advantage of me, the realtor said. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, when you're showing a house, like you're concentrating on showing this house. You're not concentrating. I mean, you should be concentrating on your security, but you're not, because you've got to, you're going to meet somebody at the house. Maybe it's the first time you've met them at a showing. You have to be pleasant. You have to be ready to, show this house, and perhaps if the buyer's interested, sell this house, write a contract and things like that. When you're opening the door, I don't know if it was on a live stream or what, but I was saying, like, doors are weird. Like there's like 17, there's more than that. There's like millions of combinations to get a door open. And like yesterday, there was a lock where you pull up to lock it, which I'd never seen before. But there's always something new, and then there's always issues. So you're just trying to get the door open. You're trying to get access to the building, and then you've got somebody trying to rob you. You're not going to pay attention. You're not going to notice. So, I'm thankful that this person didn't get hurt. You're having somebody drive your car isn't worth losing your life for. But it's scary. And, if we can do a better job of, explaining to the general public that, hey, being a real estate agent is kind of dangerous. maybe it'll do something. Maybe it'll help a little bit. But I have some thoughts. I had some questions, and I want to go over them with you. So I've said it before. I said I think being a real estate agent is a lot more dangerous than people realize. We're constantly in new surrounding at all hours of the day, all hours of the day and night. And so, yes, and it's like maybe you might say, well, is there something you would change? Or no, there's really nothing. I mean, you have to just be aware of your surroundings. And if someone's going to come at you, they're going to come at you. I don't think you sometimes it's bad luck. But what I did want to know is, as an agent, did this in any way impact the sale price of the home or the seller's disclosure? Should the sellers have to report on the disclosure there was an armed robbery at the front door of their townhouse? I'm not a lawyer, but I just feel like it matters. They even caught the fellow, but still it's an issue. So let's just say, you're showing houses, and one of the houses like has on the disclosure, like, hey, we had a armed robbery, and it happened last month. Well, does that change your thoughts on how much you should offer for a house? And let's put it another way. Let's say that you and your family lived in a home and it was broken into and they stole a bunch of your stuff, and ever since then you've been uncomfortable living there and you want out. Is that something that shows up on a disclosure? I would say I've never seen it. I've never seen one time where it said, well, the house was robbed and that's why we left. But that might be because the seller's disclosure is to talk about what about the house. So oddly enough, if there's a storm and your roof has to be replaced, that would probably be on the disclosure. But if you were at your house and robbed, even though it was part of the house, it wouldn't be disclosed. Also, it wouldn't be disclosed if there was it would be disclosed if there was a fire, but it wouldn't necessarily have to be disclosed who started the fire. Or I wouldn't see it. Now you can correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section, but that's just something that I was curious about is this going to affect the price of the home? And to me, this leads into a larger discussion about about crime reports for a particular area. So I'll have buyers say, "Hey, John, I don't want to live in a terrible area," and then they'll also ask me when we go to a place, what do you think about the crime in this area? And as a realtor, I'm not supposed to answer. I'm not supposed to tell people anything about what could be a bad area or not, because in theory it's subjective. So maybe what I think of as a perfectly safe area has 7 robberies a week in it. Now that's where the subjectivity comes in. Maybe you feel like that's unacceptable that there's any crime that happens in the neighborhood. So that's why we're not really allowed to talk about it. Now, what I will do, like when you go through a block where there's windows are gone, people are hanging out on the streets, and then you see a perfectly remodeled home for like $20,000 or $30,000 less than what a normal home would go for, just 4 or 5 streets away. You would think that your buyers might figure that out. What part of town you're in. And, I don't want you to think that I don't tell people. When I get a question about crime, I do refer people to online resources. Like in St. Louis, some of the counties report their stuff. In St. Louis County, they do report it, but sometimes municipalities don't. But I have to operate within this box as an agent. And it works. It works maybe, I feel like, good in some ways and bad in others. Like if there's a really bad part of town, gosh, I sure would like to be able to tell my nice buyers, like, hey, you don't want to live in this part of town. This is terrible. But at the same time, maybe they do. Maybe they see a deal there and they want to try and be the first people to move back in a neighborhood that's terrible. So it's not for me to decide, but I did want you to know about it. And then one thing I did want you to know also is that crime reports are kind of odd. It's a slippery slope. For example, everything in my area is like green on a map except for the Walmart in Shrewsbury. And when you look at the map, it's like, why is it just bright red right at the Walmart? Well, it's because they tend to prosecute theft, and so the rest of our area is pretty safe, but that's subjective. I mean, depending on how often a crime occurs is how they update the map. So if you have one robbery every 2 months, it's not going to look nearly like the Walmart where there's something, I swear, every other day they've got somebody handcuffs when I go up there. So that's it. Just know being a real estate agent can be dangerous. And that, if you are an agent, hope, I mean, in the last couple of years, I've definitely seen more publications and more work done towards education, saying, hey, this is not always the most safest profession. And, let's continue that as far as let's just keep people aware. Let's keep agents safe. And that would go a long way. I hate when people go to work and somebody attacks them. I think that's just so wrong. But that's all I have for you today. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. And I will catch you on the next one.